Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ros Gervais. I'm an artist and art educator, and I'm highly passionate about helping creatives just like you to reconnect to yourself through art. So in this particular video tutorial, we're going to be doing some color mixing. We will be exploring with tints and also experimenting with what happens when we start with 3 different starting colors. But before we dive on in, I'm wondering if you could please like this video and also share it with a creative friend of yours who might benefit from what is contained within the tutorial. Also, if you would like to be notified of any future tutorials that I share, make sure that you subscribe to this channel to be notified automatically. And if you're watching, drop down underneath below in the comments, drop down the word watching so that I know you're watching, and if you have any questions, I will automatically be informed so I can come and help you out. All right, let's dive on in.
Okay, so we're going to start with some colour mixing today. This is the colour wheel and you will need your printout. Then you're going to need a palette knife, a few different colours in acrylic paints. You're also going to need some sort of a mixing palette, a jar of water and a brush. Now the first paint that I'm using, this is a primary yellow, the second is a primary blue, and then we have a primary magenta. You can choose your own colours to start with. Any yellow, any blue, any sort of red, pink colour will be fine. And then this one is titanium white. So the first thing we're going to do is add our paint to our palette. I'm just adding 2 dots here, but you're welcome to do it your own way. And then I'm going to add my blue onto my palette. And next is my primary magenta. Now we're going to get our palette knife and mix some of our colours, but before we do that, we're going to start just with our straight colours. So we're going to do our yellow first at the top of our colour wheel, and then we're going to add the other 2 colours at even intervals around our colour wheel. When you're painting your colour wheel, it doesn't need to be neat. It's more of a scientific experiment, so don't be too hard on yourself in that regard. Now that our 3 main colours are done, we need to start to mix the colours that go in those in-between spaces. So I'm going to use my palette knife now to start to mix a range of colours from the yellow to the red. So I'm going to start by adding a tiny little bit of red to some yellow, and then I'm going to paint out that section on my colour wheel. You will notice in this video that I don't change my water. It might be a good idea if you do that, just to make sure your colours aren't tinted. Okay, now I'm going to mix my slightly darker orange colour by adding more magenta to the mix. And I'll do that one more time to come up with the darkest orange for this colour wheel. Now we're going to start to mix the colours that go in between our red to our blue. They will be in the purple range, depending on the red and the blue that you start with. It's important to keep your palette knife clean so that it doesn't impact your colours too much. So I'm going to start by adding a small amount of blue to some magenta. And that's going to give me a very, very, very dark purple. In some cases you might find that your purples are actually quite brown, and that's okay, just go with it, because what you're doing is experimenting with the colours that you get from mixing 3 primary colours of your choice. And as you're doing this, keep mental note of the colours that you like as well, and that you might be able to use in future artworks. So what I've done now is I've taken away half of that very dark purple, and then I have added more blue to that mix to create more of an indigo colour. And I'm going to do the same again. So I'm going to take half of that indigo colour and then add more blue to that mix. And next up we're going to mix our colours that go from blue to a yellow, and these are going to give us a range of green tones. I'm cleaning my palette knife again, and I'm running out of space, so I'm going to have to work on the edge of my plate. So this time I've got a whole lot of yellow and I'm adding in a tiny little bit of blue, and this creates a gorgeous lime colour which I just adore. You'll notice as well that I'm trying to keep the collections of colour as they are on the palette, because we're going to be doing one last step before we finish our colour wheel. So again, taking away half of that lime and then adding more blue to that mix. And I'm doing that one last time. And then after this we're going to talk about making some pastel colours. So we've finished the outside of our colour wheel, and in that sort of slim section in the middle of our colour wheel, we're going to do our pastel version. So I'm just adding a little bit of titanium white to each collection of colour on my palette. And I'm regretting that I mixed up and I modified my orange. So you'll see me soon mixing up some orange again in the various shades so that I can fill those pastel spots. So starting with the lime green And I'll do this and just follow through until I've finished and filled all those spots. Now that we've finished that pastel section, we're going to do what is going to create this color wheel that is wacky, as the name suggests. So we've used some very predictable yellow blues and a dark magenta, which is pretty much a red color. And now we're going to do exactly the same activity using some slightly different colors. So here I've got a yellow oxide, an indigo, a Matisse indigo, and a cadmium medium red. And so you can experiment with this as well and use 3 colors that are quite different to your original 3 colors, and then just see what results you get.